Archdeacon Hepburn was the rector of All Saint Sandy Hill, the second rector from 1919 to 1956. But before he came to All Saints, he was a chaplain during the First World War. He began in 1915, and he stayed for the duration of the war. And this window shows Canadian soldiers being looked after by medical personnel. Obviously, a medic on one side, and on the other side, a nursing sister. The interesting thing about this window, it's about the Battle of the Somme. And in July and August of 1916, Padre Hepburn was a chaplain with the 9th Canadian Field Ambulance. So I would think that this window actually shows part of the ministry situation where Archdeacon Hepburn found himself in. He wasn't an archdeacon then, he was just a newly ordained priest. And as he was ministering with the 9th Canadian Field Ambulance, he went back and forth into no man's land and collected wounded soldiers and brought them back. And as a result of that, he was awarded the Military Cross. One of two given to Canadian Padres during the Battle of the Somme. Also, when he was there, artillery came down on the position, and he was buried for a number of hours under 4 feet of chalk. And when they dug him out, he was greatly traumatized, of course, and was repatriated to England. But he obviously came back to the battlefield because he was at the Battle of Vimy. And he wrote his wife a number of letters from the Battle of Vimy, which are in the diocesan archives. And he used to get together with the troops, and they would have a church service, and they would understand sacrifice. And he told his wife, "You should have heard the men sing after the battle. O merciful Father, mindful of thy love, that sacrificed himself on Calvary's ridge." And the soldiers could understand that because they could understand the fact that Jesus made the supreme sacrifice. And of course, Vimy Ridge was a place of supreme sacrifice. The Battle of the Somme itself, where he was ministering, there were over 1 million casualties on all sides, the bloodiest war ever in history. There were bloody wars throughout the First World War, but the Battle of the Somme was by far the bloodiest. And Padre Hepburn was there. And then he came back and became, in 1919, shortly after the war, he became the rector of All Saint Sandy Hill. This plaque commemorates Archdeacon Hepburn, and you could see that he's listed as Honorary Brigadier, and after his name, you'll see the Military Cross and Companion of the British Empire. That's another part of his story, because he came back from war and became the rector here, and then he disappeared for about 5 years and did something else. And in those days, it would be not uncommon for your parish priest to say to the parish, "I'm going away for a while, and not sure when you're going to get your rector back." Well, he disappeared and in 1940, and he came back in 1945. And then he resumed his duties at All Saints. So we're going to have a look at another picture of Padre Hepburn. After the First World War, when Padre Hepburn came back, the chaplain branch was disbanded. And in 1939, when another war was going to take place, they began to put the chaplain branch together again. And they called in an Anglican bishop from British Columbia, George Anderson Wells, to be the principal chaplain. And they asked Padre Hepburn to take a leave from All Saints, Sandy Hill, to come back as the deputy chaplain to the Protestants in the Military Chaplains Corps, the newly revived chaplain branch. In 1943, George Anderson Wells became the senior fleet chaplain, and Padre Hepburn became the senior Protestant chaplain. And you can see his medals from the First and Second World War. The top one in the middle is the Military Cross. The one slightly to the left is the Companion of the British Empire. And at the bottom of his stole is CF with a crown on top of it. And that just means Canadian Forces, and it also indicates the insignia of Chaplain General. So he would have been the second Chaplain General in the Canadian Forces, Anglican, in the modern era. So not only was he a soldier, a parish priest, he was also a military chaplain, well respected and very much a war hero. He wouldn't have regarded himself as that. He was just simply a very fine pastor. And he took his pastoring from the battlefield to parish ministry and the conflicts that always exist within people in any parish. And then he went back to war again and came back to his beloved parish.